I think it's Friday. I'm not looking at calendars and stuff. I had my injections on Monday in my back. It felt like someone had hit me on both sides. I don't know how to describe where these injections are at. It's like right at the top. This is going to get descriptive and like maybe over the top, so close your ears if you don't want to hear it. Where the top of your butt crack is on either side, like kind of in that area, it felt like somebody hit me with a baseball bat, or like, I don't know if you guys remember, and I think I've mentioned this before, I've had this kind of a pain where when you were a kid, there was something we called a frog. Now, it may have been called other things in different parts of the country or whatever, I don't know. But you use your knuckle and you jam it into your friend's arm. I don't know why we did this to each other, but we did. Kids, you know, are weird. And you'd say frog, and I don't know. I think the boys started that, but anyway, and it would it would hurt, you know, and it would stay that way for a while. Anyway, it felt like that nonstop for about, it was over 24 hours, which I expected it to be sore, achy, whatever you want to call it, you know. So I just took my meds, and I didn't have an ice pack on hand, so I have ordered one so that I have one in the future. So that has gone away, but it doesn't seem to be helping yet. Now, it may just be taking longer. He injected more of the stuff than my doctor in Arizona used to inject, because I could tell by the pressure, because when they start putting the stuff in, it's a combination of what is it, steroids, and I don't know what else they use, but when they do these injections, it's steroids and some other stuff or something. And I really should read about what they're injecting into my body, but you know, when you're in pain all the time, or 90% of the time, you'll pretty much let them do whatever they say. Oh, this might work, you know, and you're like, okay, try that, you know. So you really don't care, which is stupid, but desperate times, desperate measures, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be having any effect on the amount of pain that I'm in, but it is affecting my sleep. It's affecting how much I'm getting up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Like, my bladder shrank all of a sudden. I'm sweating more. It's at night when I'm trying to sleep, I'm sweating more than normal, which, you know, I know that's a side effect of the steroids. I let somebody out and he just waved like crazy. He's a younger guy though, so that makes sense. The older people here, like I've said before, I think all learned how to drive on a farm, and they don't have manners or follow signs or anything. Anyway, I'm hoping that things will improve with a little more time. I have an appointment with my regular doctor, not my pain management doctor, on Monday. I got to follow up with her about my meds and all that stuff. So, you know, I'll talk to her about everything. I am going to mention to her that I would like a referral to an ophthalmologist, because this leaky eye thing has not gone away. And I've gotten dry eye tears, drops, and I've been using my Flonase, and nothing is mattering, nothing's helping. It's off and on, worse or better, depending, but I have noticed that it's not like regular tears that my eye is leaking. It's like it's almost thicker. I don't know how to describe it. I'm talking about all these bodily functions. You guys are probably like, gross. But, you know, if you're younger, welcome to getting old. You know, people never talked about this weird stuff. Like, when I was growing up, you know, older people, like, you'd hear them complain about aches and pains and stuff, but nobody ever went into detail so that you kind of had an idea, you know, maybe what things might happen and how things work and whatever. It's kind of like having babies. You know, they don't tell you all of the weird details, you know, and it's just like surprise when you go in to have your kid, you know. Anyway, so that's what's been going on with that. You guys haven't seen any videos. I did get, I think I told you in the last video, I renewed my membership for my editing software, so that's been taken care of. The next software that I'm going to have to pay to renew is Photo Room, and that's the one that I use to remove the backgrounds from the photos that I take. I use a photo box. It's just this white box with lights in it, you know. You can buy them on Amazon. And that's where I take pictures of all my stuff, for the most part. If it's bigger, I have to sit it somewhere so that it'll fit, you know, of course. But 95% of my stuff gets photos taken in my photo box. And then I use Photo Room to remove the background and create a different background. More often than not. I don't just use plain white backgrounds. I know they say you should for eBay and Google and all of that. I don't care. I like doing it. It's something creative that I get to do, and, you know, makes taking photographs a little bit more fun. These people, I'm telling you. Anyway, I don't know if this person is 1,000 years old, and that's why they're just driving along. You have to constantly watch everybody around you here because they just suddenly do things. Anyway, without turn indicators or any idea, you know, you don't know what's coming. So anyway, Photo Room. So I, you know, do different backgrounds. You guys have seen my pictures when I show you my solds. And I know that I've talked about Photo Room before in a couple videos. I have taken those videos down. I didn't remove them, I just hid them because I don't want to promote it right now. I don't want anybody coming across those videos and getting any ideas about signing up for it, because they started, and I did a video about this, they have all these new AI things, features that, you know, you can do some really cool stuff to your pictures. Well, they keep having issues with it, and for 2 days, and I mean, it's been acting up ever since they introduced the studio version of Photo Room. Whoa, there's an emergency vehicle coming, and I don't know where he's going, but he's flying around a corner. Okay, it's the sheriff. Anyway, ever since they introduced the studio version, now we still have 2 other versions that are older that we can use in case of an emergency, which has been happening a lot. So we're having to go back to version 2 or version 3 to try and remove backgrounds and create new ones, which, you know, and we're all paying for this. It's not like we're doing it. I mean, it's acting like a beta piece of software where you're constantly having to report things that aren't working, but we're paying for it, you know. Now, granted, it isn't as expensive so far as some of the other AI softwares out there that do similar things. So we're getting a better price, but for the past 2 days, I have had so many issues because I took a bunch of pictures of all of the, well, not all, but a lot of the dreamsicles. And I've been trying to get them listed. I have spent more time in Photo Room trying to get decent backgrounds and having it just glitch all over the place. If any of you have ever worked with images before, you'll know what I'm saying when I tell you that it's like the images, the backgrounds. My image is fine, the photos that I took, but the backgrounds that it's creating are not fully rendering. So it's like it's going through the process. It thinks it's done, and it's like halfway through the process. So they all look very glitchy, and they're not fully rendering, and it's so frustrating. And no matter how many times I try, I get all these weird things that are happening. I will put some pictures up here in the corner so you guys can see what I've been getting. when I'm trying to do my backgrounds, and it's, it's so irritating. We have a Facebook group where a bunch of us have been sharing images of what's been going on. We have one guy, and it's the guy that I met through I think it's the guy that I met through the Zoom. I can't remember if it's the guy that I met with through the Zoom to discuss things, but I should know if it was him or not. I think it was him. But anyway, I finally was like sending him messages, or I was tagging him in the Facebook posts that I was sharing in our group. And it's a hidden group, like we know it's there, but outsiders can't see our posts. You know what I mean? Because we all report anything that's going on, or we'll help each other with prompts. Because if you're using AI to create background images, sometimes it gets confused, and it'll think that it's looking at, like yesterday, it kept saying it was a lion that I had uploaded a picture of. It wasn't a lion. It was a cherub who has a wreath on his head. So, it's a little figurine. Like, that's what the dreamsicles are. And so, it kept thinking it was a lion. Because it thought it was a lion, it kept trying to do these weird backgrounds, and then they were not rendering properly. And so it was just a combination of this thing's being stupid. And I keep telling everybody in the group, I'm like, it's acting drunk. It's acting like it's drunk, and it's just la la la, I'm just gonna do whatever, and I'm not gonna pay attention to what anybody's telling me, and that's what it's acting like. So it's been very frustrating, and that's, been taking up a bunch of my time, because I've been having to spend way more time, because if it doesn't work in the studio version, trying to add a background, I will switch to version 3 and try that, or I'll switch to version 2. And by the time you do that a bunch of times, half an hour's gone by and you one picture, and it would be easier for me to just upload the photos that I've taken with the plain white background, but I don't like that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to have some fun with my listing process, and this is the fun part for me, because I like using software, and I've always been this way. Ever since you could have a computer at home in the 90s, my boss sent me home with a computer so that I could work from home, and the boss that I had at that time, and I just jumped in. I was just learning everything I could learn. And so, I started using Photoshop when it was brand new, and every time there was an upgrade or a new version of it, it was very exciting, and I used other software. So I've watched software in the past that I've watched it render things, like you can watch it in real time rendering an image, and that's how I know that this is not there. It's stopping when it's about halfway done rendering these images or these backgrounds. So anyway, yeah, I'm not, I don't know. They're working on it, obviously, because every time I get on the website, it seems like, it's not every time, but it seems like every time it says refresh for an update, or click here for an update or whatever. And it's like, how often are you they're breaking it every time they give us an update. It's broken in a new way. So somebody in the group this morning said that it looks like it might be working, and I'm like, don't say anything, because it might hear you and it will start being stupid again, So anyway, I have to try it when I get home. I just got so tired of it. I was up until, and I stay up late anyway most of the time, but I was so frustrated this morning, and I was messaging Justin, and I'm like, dude, this is not okay. It's been 2 days now, 2 solid days of just a bunch of people complaining in the group. We're all having similar issues. Everybody's sharing photos. And the customer service chat thing in the software, it's AI generated responses, and so excuse me, I'm gonna have to pause this for a second. I'll be back. I'm at the post office. I gotta take this package in, and I need to quit coughing. Okay, I think, I can't tell if this is recording again. It is. Sorry, you guys just got a close-up of my nose. Anyway, I hate when that happens. I had a tickle in my throat and it would not stop. So, come on, people. Gotta hurry and get out of here before somebody else flies through here. They either crawl or they fly through like Batman. There's no happy medium. Anyway, yeah, it's just been a lot of weird stuff going on, you know? Not helping me be productive. And sales are just, I'm running a sale right now. 20% off on stuff that I shouldn't be marking down by 20%, but I need to sell some stuff, you know? My prices are already lower than anybody else's for the things that I have listed. But I have to get my credit card, that car repair, paid off. You know, what else? I had something else that came up that it was the software. I had to pay to get that renewed. I mean, I did get it at 50% off, so that was a good deal, you know. I saved money, and I've got it, if I decide to go with Photo Room for another year, it's hard to, I want to stick with it because it's kind of like getting in on something at the ground floor, you know. Back in the very early days of Facebook, when games started coming onto the platform and everybody was playing games and stuff, I played a few games that were in beta, and we actually had access to the developers to some degree, and you know, we could talk to them on occasion and let them know what the game was doing, and you know, so it was nice to have that level of access and to be able to let them know, hey, this is working, hey, this isn't, you know, and that was great. But as those games grew and gained more popularity and became worth more, bigger companies would notice them, like Disney, and they would buy them and then shut them down. And I don't know if it's because they were competition or if they just wanted some of the technology that was being used in those particular games. But the games, you know, once the bigger companies would come in and buy them, within 3 months, I would say, they would get shut down, you know, and that was just the end of it. And so we'd lose our game that we had all kind of, you know, we were invested in it to some degree because we'd spent money, most of us, you know, not a ton, but we'd still spent money, and we had put in a lot of time helping the developers figure things out, you know, and let them know. And so it was frustrating. And so I don't want to keep putting energy into something that is not benefiting me. Do you know what I mean? I like this when it works. It's fantastic. It's great software. They're doing some amazing things, you know, and I can see the potential. But it's just like, how long do I want to torture myself while they're working on everything? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is so frustrating, and I can't get my stuff done as quickly as I would like to, or as well, because the pictures, some of them are turning out like crap. I'm probably going to end up redoing at least half of the ones that I did last night, because once it starts working, you know, because they just weren't what I wanted at all. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. You get to hear me complain about this software. Okay, I have to say something about this. It's driving me nuts. Every time I come down the street, there's two little kids, and they're both probably below 6 years old, out on their little trikes or whatever. No parents around anywhere. And they're just riding these things. I'm afraid one of them's going to end up out in the street, like by accident maybe. Maybe they tried to stay on the sidewalk. they're not fully in control of their little bodies. You know what I mean? At that age, you can't control, you know, that your little riding thing is gonna not roll down the driveway too fast or whatever, and you'll end up in the street. And that road's kind of busy, and I don't know, it just makes me nervous. I crawl along anytime I go. Okay, what is this person doing? Somebody's for a walk. Man, she looks like she's in pain like I am when I walk. I don't want her to think I'm trying to hit her when I park. Anyway, that's it for now, I think. I don't know if I've had enough sales to even do a sold video at this point, so I will check, and if I have had enough sales, I may add that to this. If not, this is probably going to be a really short video, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not going out sourcing because I've still got some stuff to take pictures of, and I have no money. I have no money to be going out buying things because I've got stuff that, you know, I've been paying for, and that I have to start saving for tires for my car, you know? So that's the next thing on the list. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you have, and hopefully I will see you guys soon with a more upbeat, happier video. Bye. Hello, Fat Grandma here. It is Saturday, and it is about 8 o'clock in the evening. I decided to go ahead and put my solds in here since the first part of the video, I think, was under 30 minutes. So I try not to go over an hour, you guys know, but sometimes I do. And people seem to like the longer videos. They don't like the short ones, so I'm going to put the solds in here. And then that will be it for this video. I still have not edited that footage from a few weekends ago. I don't know if I'm ever going to. There's so much of it. Anyway, let me get my solds document open so I can go through it and tell you guys. So it's been, the sales that I'm going to tell you guys about are from June 29th through July 17th. So it was 2 weeks and 4 days, I think. So 2.5 weeks-ish. And I think there's 16 sales in 2.5 weeks, which is pretty low. The highest dollar amount that I had in a sale was $28, I believe. Yeah, $28. That was my biggest sale for the past 2.5 weeks. Anyway, gonna get into this. I'll give you guys the numbers at the end. The Snowbabies, if you guys have been around, if you've been around, you know that I bought a box of Snowbabies at a garage sale for $50. And so far, I am in the profit by $49. So I did all the math, you know, the eBay fees. I've sold price for the ones that I've sold already, the total sold price, not with any other, you know, not with shipping or anything else, is $134.90. The eBay fees on that $134.90 was $35.89, and my cost of goods was $50. So the fees average out to about 27%, which sucks, but what are you gonna do, you know? Anyway, so it's right around $49 profit. So, you know, I'm already ahead with those, and so anything that I sell, my remaining stock, the list price that I have everything at right now, and it's not going to happen, but if everything sold for what I've got it priced at now, I would have another $258 in sales. I always estimate and cut that in half, and then take fees off, you know, of about 27%. I always figure 30 just because, you know, but if we did that, 258 cut in half would be 125. 125 minus, I'm going to do my math right now. 125 minus 30%, because they won't all sell either. You know what I mean? Would be another $37 profit, somewhere around there. And that's if everything's sold. And for about half of what I'm asking for everything now. Now, some of the ones that are listed will end up selling for closer to the asking price, I'm hoping. There's a couple of them that are, well, there's one for sure that's a higher dollar one. It's not very common. There aren't very many of them out there listed, and everybody else has theirs priced way higher than me. So, it's just a matter of time, and it hasn't really been that long that I've had these listed. So, it'll get there. But I'm figuring I'll probably end up with maybe another. If I cut everything in half and did the fees, it'd be around $40. But I'm figuring there might be another $60 worth of profit there, and so that would bring all of my profit up to a little over $100 on a $50 purchase, which is not that bad. It's just a lot of work because there's so many of them, and they're just small sales, So anyway, but they're sales, and it's bringing some money in. It's just little sales, little amounts. Okay, so as far as my solds, let's get started with that, and I'll try to get through these quick-ish. Let's see, I've already been talking for 5 minutes. So the first item was a Department 56 Snowbabies Jack Frost A Touch of Winter Magic figurine. This thing was humongous. Anyway, it sold for $14.40. My cost, because I divided everything in that box by the number of pieces that I had, and I can't remember how many there were, but it was around $1.20 for each one, for each piece. So I just split it up, I did just so that it's even. Anyway, so it sold for $14.40. I got an offer, and there's been a few out there. There wasn't anything wrong with mine, but they're just not selling for very much. And buyer paid $9.52 in shipping. So, the shipping was almost as much as the item. Anyway, hopefully it gets there in one piece. I will throw a picture up here so you guys can see the wrap job that I was doing on it. I took 2 photos. I took one while I was in the middle of packing it up, and then I took another one down into the box after I had it in the box before I put all the paper and stuff around it. There's things sticking out on this figurine, and you'll see in the photo that I'm going to put up, I made little cardboard protectors to wrap around each of the little bits that could potentially get broken off, and then I put bubble wrap around, then I put more bubble wrap up and over, and then from the sides up and over. And then I put cardboard on the bottom of it, a layer of cardboard with 2 layers of bubble wrap. And once I slid all of that down into the box, then I took crunchy paper and packed it all in around the whole thing so that none of the pieces touch the sides of the box or the top. So hopefully it gets there in one piece. And again, it only sold for $14, so it's kind of a bummer, but it's really cool. Anyway, enough about that. The next item I sold was a trio of vintage Pilgrim cranberry glass hand-blown vases. I've had these listed for a very long time. They came with me from Arizona. Sold for $10.80, and the buyer paid $8.40 in shipping. They're very pretty. They just, it took a while for them to sell. And I've had watchers off and on since I first got them. The next item, and this has been listed for probably close to 2 years. I got them in an auction lot. 6 Fitz and Floyd's strawberries and white flowers salad plates. This pattern is almost impossible to find. Anyway, they finally sold for $12. And again, I've pulled them from my store, and then I put them back in. I was going to get rid of them, and I decided to hang on to them, and it's been a whole thing with these. Anyway, they finally sold. So $12, and the shipping paid by the buyer was $8.38. The next item I sold was a vintage patriotic quilt. I picked this up at a yard sale recently, like in the past month or so, I believe. I believe it's been about a month. It might be in that footage that I haven't edited yet. It was red, white, and blue, 42 by 42. It had a Project Linus quilter's tag on it, and I paid, I think, $3 for it at that yard sale. It sold for $12.75, and the shipping paid was $6.90. It had some stains on it. Colors had, you could tell someone stuck it, and they didn't wash the fabric before they quilted it. And then they put the whole thing in the washing machine, and the red had kind of tinted the white fabrics so that they're not pink, but it just, you could tell somebody didn't launder it correctly. Anyway, it sold, and I'm glad. The next item that I sold was a Bracciano, I don't know if that's how you say it or not, women's black crossbody bag, tooled embossed vegan leather, boho. I paid $5 for this, I believe, at a yard sale. Yeah, got it at a yard sale recently. And it sold for $12.60, and shipping paid was $8.99. And I put it in a poly bag. I wrapped it in a bunch of bubble wrap, put it in a poly bag, so it wasn't heavy. I can't remember where it was going, but that's a high shipping amount for something that really didn't weigh very much. So it had to be going to the West Coast, I'm guessing. Let's see. The next item is a Department 56 Snowbabies Angelic Wishes Sitting Ornament 2004. Again, cost for these was about $2 each. Sold for $5.40. Buyer paid $5.89 in shipping. Most of them are tiny or on the small side, but every once in a while there's one that's, big. See, the next item I sold was a Dreamsicles Guardian Angel Group Hug with Animals figurine, signed 2001, and this was quite rare. There weren't any others listed. I couldn't find them. I don't think there were any listed on other websites either, or maybe there'd been one. I can't remember, but anyway, I determined that it was rare, and I don't say rare about something unless I can't find it anywhere. So that's kind of my gauge for it, or if there's only like one other one out there between all of the selling platforms, then I'll say it's rare. Anyway, I paid about $1.20 each for the Dreamsicles, and that one sold for $12, and shipping paid was $7.68. These things are heavy. That could be the other thing. They're not selling well, not like the Snowbabies have sold. Granted, I still have a lot of Snowbabies left, but I started out with a lot. So, but the Dreamsicles are not selling like the Snowbabies did. And I think that the shipping has a lot to do with it. They're also they're not holiday themed. They're not like, most of the Snowbabies are Christmas kind of themed or winter. And the Dreamsicles are angels. They're cherubs, so they're different. They're similar, but they're very different. And the stuff that the Dreamsicles are made out of is cast stone, and it's very heavy. It's like a rock, or plaster, kind of. Anyway, again, I think I told you I sold that one for $12, and shipping was $7.68. The next item I sold was a Department 56 Snowbabies planking figurine, 3.5 inches. It was 3.5 inches long. It was a girl in a tutu with a cat on her back, and very rare, another rare one. Sold for $14, and shipping paid was $5.96. The next item I sold was another Snowbabies Department 56 Queen for a Day, and it was from 2022. Anyway, that one sold for $9, and shipping paid was $7.28. The next item I sold, and this is something that I picked up, it was in a box with a bunch of other owl stuff. It was a Facebook Marketplace pickup. Was a Tiffany owl branch accent lamp base. It was just the base of the lamp. It had no shade. I did buy a bulb for it because I needed to test it. And anyway, it sold for $13.50, and shipping paid by the buyer was $8.80. So not horrible, you know. Um, and I think I've made my money back on that box. I cannot remember what I paid that girl for everything, but um, I'm pretty sure I've made my money back, and I've still got some other owl things in my store that will sell at some point, you know, or they should. The next item I sold was an Ashland spring butterfly birdhouse with front porch and back door hatch. That I cannot remember where this came from. I think it was another Facebook marketplace. The woman, I went and picked up a bunch of stuff from her, and a lot of it was birdhouses, and she had some owl things too. Anyway, I paid $4 is what I figured out for this birdhouse. Sold for $15.30, and shipping paid was $7.28. The next item I sold, and this is something that I also got from that other Facebook marketplace. She had this whole pile on her kitchen counter and took a photo of it and just said everything for whatever the amount was. And it was a vintage marigold amber Indiana glass chicken on a nest candy, the candy dishes, the hens that you see that, you know, they're decent money if you can find them and there's nothing chipped, because some of them, there's usually the bottom's missing or the top's missing or there's something chipped. Anyway, I paid about $5 for it. That's what my cost was at the most. And anyway, it sold for 28. I got an offer, I believe. And shipping paid was $9.33. So that's my best sale. Was that hen? Okay, I missed an item, so I'm sticking that in here. It was a maxi flowing summer dress, size 22-24, neutral brown tones, boho with tassels. It was a Romans brand. Sold for $15.30, and shipping was $6.69. Next item is another Snowbabies, Department 56 double latte day figurine, and it sold for $10.80, and shipping was $6.06. Another Snowbabies. Department 56 Snowbabies figurine, you wear your age well, birthday cake on head. And that, I just put that in as part of the description. You'll see pictures up here in the corner. Sold for $20, and shipping paid was $6.06. So that was a good sale. And a surprising, I made more on that Snowbaby than I did on the Jack Frost, which is humongous and really, really cool. When I saw that, when I was going through my trunk and I showed you guys, you know, I think my last video there was some footage of him, and he is just a really cool figurine, and I cannot believe that this other little tiny one sold for more than that big one, but whatever. The smaller one, way easier to ship. The last item I sold was a Dreams and Company women's large 18 size, if I could talk, size 18 to 20, white breezy eyelet knit long nightgown. I think I wore this thing once. It's been just, you know, in my drawers, in my closet, whatever. Sold for $13, and shipping paid was $7.49. It went in a poly bag. I have no idea where it was going, but again, it's probably on the West Coast because shipping was high and it didn't weigh very much at all. Anyway, okay, so my cost of goods for everything was right around $53. My total sales, and this is not including the shipping that the buyers pay or any of that, just the sold amounts for everything totaled was $218.85. Buyers paid a total of $120.71 in shipping. I paid $109.06 for the shipping on all of these items. So I made about $10 and change on the shipping, which covers my, or helps cover my boxes and my bubble wrap. Anyway, so, you know, after fees and shipping and all of the stuff that goes into it, my net was about $64 a week for the 2.5 weeks. I did the math. It was 165.23 was my total net for 2.5 weeks. So 18 days. Or see, 14. Yeah, it was 18 days. Anyway, I'm still having the very low dollar amount sales, but I don't have a lot of other stuff in my store right now. I have listed a couple things. I had I talked about it in my last video, the sale that where I went and picked up the stuff from the woman that lives here close by, and I'm running a sale right now, but I didn't mark down any of the stuff that I got from her because I'm going to be lucky if I break even on that stuff. I have gone back through, I've done the math. I may make some money on a couple of things, but I'm going to lose money on some of the other things. I know for a fact I will lose money on some of the other items. And so, I'll, I am not counting on making any money I just want to make my money back at this point. So, now there are some things I've been thinking, okay, so that's it for my solds. And I'm thinking, because we're supposed to be having a yard sale in August when that big one, I can't remember the name of it right now. Anyway, when that one's going on, we were going to do our yard sale for Thursday and Friday. And then I was probably going to go look at stuff on Saturday and Sunday, see if I could find any more inventory. But I'm thinking what I might do, because right at this point, I've got 4 or 5 decent sized boxes full of stuff that I'm going to get rid of at the yard sale. And I think what I might do is go through a couple of the boxes and make one kind of decent box and put it on Facebook Marketplace as, list it as for maybe somebody that, does flea market stuff, or, you know what I mean, and put decent stuff in it. But because the yard sale, I know everything is going to sell, if I'm lucky, for $1 or 50 cents, or, I don't think there's anything, even if it's worth it, people hesitate to pay more than $5 for anything at a yard sale. And so, Facebook Marketplace isn't going to be much better, but it is a little bit better from what I've seen of other people, selling their stuff. So I may go through and do 1 or 2 boxes and throw them up on Facebook, and, it'll just be a couple of shots of the different stuff that's in the box, and it'll just be a lot of, flea market goods or whatever. And maybe sell some of the stuff that way so that I don't have to drag so much of it out to the driveway when we have the yard sale in August. So anyway, that's just kind of where I'm thinking right now. Waiting for the shots to start, the injections that I got to start working, hopefully, because the last time I had injections was right before I was going to move from Phoenix. And I got the injections when I did so that I would be able to pack and get things loaded in the U-Haul. And I had movers, but I still had to do a lot of stuff myself, So, and it helped. And I'm waiting for this to start working, the shots that I got. Because it'll help me get this stuff sorted and get things ready for the yard sale to some degree. Anyway, okay. That is it for this video. I think I've told you guys about everything I'd tell you about. I hope you guys have a great weekend, or having a great weekend, and the next week is good, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.